After a bunch of NBA free agency talk, it's time to go back to a different sport. And by that, I mean college football. So we're in for quite an interesting one today. Today we're going to preview college football some more. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about head coaches that are on the hot seat going into this season. And to give you a little teaser for those that aren't watching the live stream. For those of you that are not watching this live stream, the people in the live stream do this as well. In the live chat, if you're on the live stream right now, or if you're commenting, or if you're watching later on, comment down below who you think these 8 coaches are that I have on the list of coaches on the hot seat. Here's a hint. 3 are in the SEC, 2 are in the Pac-12, 1's in the Big 12, 1 is in the Big 10, and 1 is independent. So before you start moving on to this, watch the video. Or before you pause the video and before you watch this full-length live stream, comment who you think these 8 coaches are. We've got whatever to watch, and we've got Chase Vermillion in. Whatever to watch has already made some guesses. He's got the Notre Dame coach and the Auburn head coach. So we'll see if he's right. Boston Celtics fan 27. Sports Fury's here. Josh from the Sports Fury. No, this is not a fantasy football live stream tonight. I was thinking about it, but I feel like I had to do this one first. So anyway, once again, 3 are in the SEC, 2 are in the Pac-12, 1's in the Big 12, 1's in the Big 10, and 1 is independent. All right, moving on. Here is our first head coach that's on the hot seat. Brian Kelly from Notre Dame, whatever to watch, nailed that first. And here's why Brian Kelly's on the hot seat. Brian Kelly had an abysmal 4-8 year at Notre Dame last year. In fact, with Notre Dame, ever since the year they made the national championship game, but got demolished by Alabama, Notre Dame is yet to get back to that standard. And last year going 4-8, that wasn't the answer. I mean, they did have a solid season. They did go 10-2. They did go 10-2 2 years ago. Where we've got Benjamin Beer. We got Benjamin Bearts. Alright, should I say anything more about Brian Kelly? I mean, there was talks that he was going to get the boot last year. But I figured since there wasn't any head coaches that were kind of available, I mean, they could have tried Les Miles. But I feel like if Les Miles were to coach again, kind of a spoiler for a little bit later in the live stream, but if Les Miles wants to coach in Division I again, I think he wants to coach in the SEC or at Nebraska. So kind of a little bit of a spoiler later in the video if that wants to give you a hint on who else is on the hot seat. Number 2, Kevin Sumlin, whatever to watch, also nailed that one. In fact, let me open up my other mobile device so I can read some things that are going on in the live stream. And why Kevin Sumlin's on the hot seat, I think it's no question why he is. I'm going to get to that in just a second, Benjamin. And being a Texan fan that I am, I was first excited for Kevin Sumlin to come be the head coach. But ever since the year that Johnny Manziel won the Heisman Trophy, going 10-2 and winning the Cotton Bowl, finishing the top 5 in the AP poll, it's just gone downhill for Texas A&M. And with Texas being the SEC, they're in national championship contention every year at the beginning of the year. But then the second half of the season, everything just completely falls apart. And even their athletic director even opened up and said that if they have another repeat performance of they had the last couple of years, Kevin Sumlin's out. So I feel like if Texas does not go at least 9-3 this year, I think Kevin Sumlin's done. All right, third head coach on this list, Mike Riley for Nebraska. Now, this is kind of the part where I'm probably going to get some hate comments from the Nebraska fans out there, but I don't care. This is just a business. But here's something that they don't want to hear. Mike Riley's only productive win at Nebraska so far has been against an overrated Michigan State team back in 2015. Because Michigan State was really overrated that year. At least 7 or 8 of their games were decided by one possession. I know that's not what Nebraska fans want to hear, but it's just the truth. And when Michigan State played in the college football playoff in 2015, they lost to Alabama 38-0. So kind of a little teaser on who might coach Nebraska if they decide to let go of Mike Riley. Les Miles is out there. I mean, his son's a fullback on the team. So that could just be a little bit something. Next coach we have on the hot seat is Jim Mora for UCLA. And I think whatever to watch is on a roll here because he had Notre Dame, Texas A&M, and UCLA so far. So he's had 3 of the first 4. Now I think Jim Mora got a pass last year when UCLA went 4-8. Because part of that can be that their star quarterback, Josh Rosen, who is possibly going to be a top 5 pick in next year's NFL draft, or he'll be a top prospect in next year's NFL draft, was injured for most of the season. So, but I feel like if Busley has another repeat performance of that, maybe he might get the can. Maybe they're going to give him one last. Maybe he'll get one more chance after this year. But if there was a shocking head coach firing this year, it's going to be Jim Mora. I couldn't see it being anybody else except for Gus Malzahn, who whatever to watch also sit in the live stream. Whatever to watch says Josh Rosen, a second-round player. Well, could that be? That could also be mostly because of his injury from last year. That was season-ending. But I feel like maybe Josh Rosen will be better off returning for his senior season next year. But it honestly depends on what teams are going to need quarterbacks by then. The next head coach we have on here is Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury for Texas Tech. Now, Cliff Kingsbury started off being an offensive coordinator for Texas A&M, the year they had Johnny Manziel. And ever since he took over at Texas Tech, it's kind of been nothing as productive has happened at Texas Tech. They couldn't pull out any upset victories. They haven't made a lot of progress in the Big 12. Texas Tech is kind of that invisible team in the Big 12, where you don't think it's there, but it just doesn't do anything. That's Texas Tech. Next on this list, we have Butch Jones for Tennessee. Now, Tennessee fans I've seen all throughout Twitter that don't like Butch Jones as their head coach. As I say, Butch Jones can't win big games. Because every year Tennessee is a team that everybody says Tennessee's back. They're going to win the SEC. They're going to be in the SEC championship game. But Tennessee always disappoints. Tennessee's like the Dallas Cowboys of college football. Everyone thinks they're going to be good. Wilson Breckenridge says, "Did you get to my guy Rich Rod yet?" Spoiler alert. Next. Like I was saying, Tennessee is the Dallas Cowboys of college football. Everybody thinks they're back. However, they just let you down by the end of the season. And next, like I said, Rich Rodriguez out of Arizona. Honestly, it's kind of fitting we're talking about Rich Rodriguez, the Arizona head coach, being on the hot seat. I honestly just thought it was the 117-degree weather in Arizona today. Like I saw Wilson Breckenridge post on Twitter. But still, Rich Rodriguez has already had his history. I mean, things didn't work out with Michigan, and right now they're not working out at Arizona. And I feel like if Arizona fails to make a bowl game, I think that's going to be the end of Rich Rodriguez. I honestly think Rich Rodriguez will be better off being an offensive coordinator somewhere. I just don't think Rich Rodriguez is a head coach caliber type of guy. I think he's better off as maybe an offensive or defensive coordinator. And the eighth and final head coach we have on this list, Brett Bielema for Arkansas. Now, he did really well as a head coach at Wisconsin. But Arkansas, he's just not been fitting the bill so far. Because Arkansas they have not made the top of the SEC West since the hire of Brett Bielema. In fact, that's kind of what they expected out of him at the beginning. But he has not gotten there yet. And I feel like if they don't get into the top three in the SEC West, I think that's going to be the end of Brett Bielema this year. Think about how tough the SEC West is. You've got Alabama, LSU. On occasional years, Auburn. On occasion, Ole Miss. Back when they had Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. Mississippi State, who I think could be on the rise this year. And then you've got Arkansas. So the SEC West is the hardest division in all of college football. But I think there is a likelihood that Brett Bielema might be relieved of his duties at the end of the season. But I think he's at least on the hot seat for right now. I think if he ends up maybe pulling out a 9-3, 8-4 season, I think he might stay. Anyway, there are probably some other head coaches that might be on the hot seats, particularly in the SEC, like Gus Malzahn at Auburn. It's a possibility. Anyway, if anybody has any questions, we can take about 2 or 3 minutes to ask some other questions. I'm going to read some other comments in the comment section that I could not get to yet. Better watch others' two favorite teams are Oregon and Georgia Tech. D-Dog Sports. I don't see Mike Riley being on the hot seat. He's starting to get better players in Nebraska. Okay, but can he utilize the recruits that he's getting? Because there are teams that can recruit really well, but the question is, do they have the right coaches to coach them up the way they need to be coached? Does he have a winning formula? Which Mike Riley has not. Like, he has not fit the bill for Nebraska yet. He hasn't built that winning formula yet that Nebraska fans are looking for, because Nebraska fans are getting really frustrated with the coaching of Mike Riley. Whatever to watch, for every 7 years, Tennessee will be good. Tennessee will have one good year. That's kind of what the deal is. Like, Tennessee had a decent year. They almost lost to Appalachian State opening weekend last year. Like, every time Tennessee gets highly rated, they just fail to meet the bill. They just get overhyped. Sports Fury asks, the Sports Fury has a question, am I feeling the hot to your fantasy football? No, not yet. I mean, my team name so far is the Bears traded up. I mean, it's going to be pretty realistic, but we'll see. By the way, I'm going to announce my fantasy league openings, by the way, pretty soon. It's kind of within the next couple of days, so stay tuned. Whatever to watch, Georgia, I'd say Georgia's the third most talented team this year. If the coaching goes well, Georgia will be an 11-win team. I'll hold you to that. Whatever to watch. I mean, Jacob Eason, Nick Chubb, Wilson Breckwich. Will Gene Chiz ever get another chance at a head coach position? I think it could depend where. Anyway, I gotta go. My phone's at low battery. So, I will see you guys later. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time.